All right, big up yourselves, 9565 Brockwad. You don't know the MySpace. This is Peacemakers. We're back again, episode 2.
Come on.
Max and Shan, you know how we do. And the Make It Stop campaign, this is why we're doing it. I want to big up everybody that supported the cause so far and joined in. We're making headway in terms of moves. We're building the grassroots communication, grassroots organizations, putting them together. We've managed to raise how much money?
11,000
on just give.
Just giving, yeah.
And we're hoping for 30 bags. 30 bags.
It can be done
As soon as possible, but we've made good headway. Big up the team, well done. And what we want to do is just make it stop. And we've got another piece of the puzzle inside the facility today. I want to big up this. This studio is nice.
Hey!
Outset. Yeah, big up Outset. The studio is
London
neat.
Bridge.
It's beautiful.
Come on.
Good customer services. No trouble. But yeah, we want to big up our guest today. The background, I can't even remember how we even connected, but it doesn't really matter because that's my brother.
You're here now.
And he's been doing the great works with in the community. Yeah, I want to introduce. I don't know how to. Obviously, we've got to do governments now, innit?
Richie
Fargus. Richie Fargus. Big up yourself.
Director,
how you doing? Yeah.
Music Club.
Stop. Wait. Everything. Can it? But no, it's been a shoulder, to lean on, a powerhouse in the community. So, welcome to the Peacemakers podcast, my brother.
Welcome.
Come on.
How you doing today? Though? No,
I'm good. A bit rusty. A bit croaky. As you can hear it in my voice. A bit rusty. But still pushing on. You know, an agenda. Still pushing the agenda. Still trying to find a way through these young people.
Yeah.
No, so give some background because obviously you've been in the music game for a long time, and then you started the music club. I just want to know what was the transition there? How did that?
So basically, I'm like, my mum lived not too far from here. My mum lived in Waterloo. My dad lived in like towards Brixton Way. So basically, you know, came up with friends, family. A lot of my family is super musical.
Okay.
But I was never into music from the gate. I was playing sports, football, basketball, X, Y, and Z. So eventually, when that didn't really work out, late teens, I was like, flipping out, I'm going to have to do music like everybody else.
Well, like, there were the only two options, sport or music.
Well, it wasn't the only options, but it was part of our culture and it was prevalent. You know, we all sort of grew up sort of South London based. I went to Lillian Baylis and stuff. And so in that sort of 5-mile radius, that's what's happening. You're going to dances.
Yeah.
Like my best friend, he was a DJ. My brother was a DJ. His brother was a DJ. So growing up, I had every record in my house. Literally.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't by choice. Do you know what I mean? And then it progressed into, you know, making beats and stuff like that. But I wasn't paying attention to it. But a cousin of ours, you know, he was super musical. We all sort of lived in the same house at one time. And I used to see him practicing X, Y, and Z, you know, working on his craft. So the process of making music was just there.
Yeah.
It was just build muscle memory. It was there. And he wanted to do great things. You know, God rest his soul. You know, he's MC Skibbity.
Come on now.
And we saw him become successful. So we was like, and we could touch him. We could.
Yeah, so it was more tangible that we can actually make a go of this.
We could see him every day, you know. Certain times, you know, he would stay at our house, or, you know, certain times I would see him, you know, 2:00 in the morning, like with the music turned down. And I wake up, what are you doing? He's like, shut up, man. What are you talking about? Go back to sleep. So like, you know, we saw him. We could feel him, touch him, and then, you know, Friday night he would go to like Laserdrome or the big stage, and we're like, this is our guy. Like, this is our guy. Like,
he's
you know,
doing it.
Drum and bass, you know, legend. And it was hard to not say, I want to do that.
Yeah.
You know, he took me to a radio station one time, and I saw like all of these big DJs now, like I could touch them, feel them, and see, like, you know. So in our area, it was pretty much musical. We had a lot of people sort of come through there, and, you know, we had so much access to things like Coliseum on a Friday and Saturday. Yep. And this time we're 15, you know, putting on loafers and trying to get in there.
What, socks or no socks?
No socks them times. And we could walk. We could walk from our house to Coliseum.
Yeah.
So it's crazy. And then so myself and a group of friends, we went to we were on the playground in front of my mum's house. And in the summer we used to do dancing, whatever, play music and just be acrobatic. And there was this guy that ate his lunch. Just remember, my mum lived opposite the Old Vic. So there was this guy called Leon Robinson, he later introduced himself as. And he used to watch us all throughout the summer. And he just never used to say nothing, he just watch us. Then he approached us, I think it was like 4 of us, and then my older brother was there. And he said, do you guys want to come to like Pineapple Studios in Covent Garden? And he was like, all right, to do some dancing and singing and X, Y, and Z. So we was like,
are you sure you weren't getting groomed?
Well, this is it. But my older brother was there, so my mum was like, okay, you can go. As long as he's there, you can go. Or else, no, go to your bed. So we went along.
Okay.
And then there was all these guys there just doing music, and we used to go there every Sunday. Little did we know that there's like, these guys were huge in their world. There was like a group called Ultimate Chaos.
Okay, yeah.
Come on,
Yeah, you know.
Thingy, none of that.
And it was like, we were like, who are these guys? Like, and then it wasn't them. It was like a group called Damage, and then a group called was it Cliche at the time?
Yeah.
And we're like, hold a second, you guys are actually. I think we didn't hit us till we saw one of them on the top of the pops. And we're like, that's my man. I'm like, so we didn't know what was happening because we were a bit younger than those guys. We were like still like 13, 14.
So what, he was inviting you to come to...
So basically what they were doing, it was like all of these guys, they would come together and they would do acting, dance and singing, but he was making a production called Faust.
Okay.
And we had a significant role.
Okay, everybody played a role.
In Faust, this production that had all of these people in it. Little did we know, they all went to Sylvia Young, Bright Sparks. They went to schools that you paid money for. So I remember going home, because there was a lady there, she was a singing coach, and she was like, you're good at acting, maybe you should try and come to this summer school. So I went to this summer school, and then it was called RADA. And then I asked my mum, when can I go there? She was like, yeah, of course you can. So we went there, and then they told her the fees. And she was like, whoa, I didn't realize you had to pay to come here. So we was like, so you guys, so we kind of looked at them different. Like, you have to pay to go to your school. We wasn't, that's unheard of where we're from. We just turn up and go to school, put your uniform and go to school. We didn't realize you had to pay
for these certain...
private school and X, Y, and Z. So, cut a long story short, we did this performance that was at the Old Vic. And in that performance, we didn't realize that there were a lot of people from the industry that came down every Sunday to watch. And some of these guys were
like scouts.
Pretty much. Or just people just, you know, in that environment.
Okay.
And they were like, who are these guys? They're really good. They're good at dancing. And Leon was like, they don't go to, they're just kids from
round the way.
So we went to like loads of auditions for things. So we didn't realize that we were learning at the time. We didn't know what was going on. It was like...
Just going with it.
Yeah. Just like, this is cool. You know, one time we did something at Covent Garden and they bought us McDonald's. And we were like, we've won. We were like, we've won.
Don't crack me up.
We was like, we got McDonald's.
Happy
coming
days.
home. And them times, you had to let people know you went McDonald's.
Yeah.
You had to walk with this, even though there went no drink, you saved a little bit of drink.
Just to hold the...
you hold it right till you go back to the end, you know. Like, I had McDoodles, you get me? Yeah.
You hold it, you put a little bit of Sprite in there. You say, no, I'm saving it so people know that, you know what I mean? Some dry chips are all cold. So, you know, and then, you know, we started doing all these things. And then one time we were in the newspaper at school. And we had this guy called Normski come down. It was like Dance Energy. We're like 13 years years old, and dancing in the playground, and I had a picture that's still framed at the house of me and 2 of my friends, and we're just doing this move, and they're like this, and it was featured on Dance Energy. And back then, growing up, you know, on TV, you was it.
Of course,
that was it.
Of course, but you made it.
You made it. You know what I mean? So I was like, wow. But why are we still? Shouldn't we be famous? Like, what does that mean? Sort of thing. Shouldn't we be doing something different? I'm still sleeping on the bed here in the mattress. Still, do you know what I mean? So fast forward on that situation. Sort of, we did a production at Old Vic, and the whole area came and X, Y, and Z, and so it was almost like an introduction to, okay, there's a world that does this. You know what I mean? And whilst we're seeing, people like Skibber and, other people in our area sort of become sort of known
Names.
for music. So we're like, okay, this is interesting. So the fast forward, I was also involved in many different sort of plays in the area that I was from, because my mum wasn't having it. I went to Scouts.
What is it? Beavers?
I did the whole thing.
Which one's first? Is it Beavers?
Beavers is first.
Beavers,
Beavers.
yeah.
And you get the ting man with the tackle. You get like this.
So it's a different time, I guess, but also your household was busy doing creative things.
Yeah, my mum wasn't having it. She was like, I don't want you to be like those guys on the corner.
Okay.
Yeah, you're going to be you people are doing everything. You play football, obviously play football and sports and stuff. But even if you go to church on a Saturday, but there's no church. I don't care. Go and look at the church. You know what I mean? So we would do all these activities. Mum didn't care. She would save money and put money into everything. So, and plus other activities, like we had family that lived abroad.
Okay.
So me and my brother would go abroad. As
it was
long
just
as
you and your brother?
Just me and my brother. We would go abroad. Like we went to Switzerland young. So we're getting all these experiences.
Seeing life outside of
do you know
just
what I mean? We're
this.
seeing, okay, people live different. This is bigger than our house. What's happening? Not what we doing wrong, but I became curious.
Yeah.
So further along, like in secondary school, one time I was being a bit difficult at secondary school, and I came home. I had a girlfriend quite early as well, so I remember came home. I was like 14. But it was cool because her mum, her granddad was Ghanaian, so that was it. I was like, oh, I'm going to tell my mum, I got a girl and she's Ghanaian. I was like, oh, really?
That's fine. That's all I need to know. That's all I need to know.
I was cool. I was, I had the open dialect from quite young. And so I remember one time I was just being a bit difficult, and I was close with my mum's brother. And she said, okay, tomorrow you'll pack your guns and you're going to Chicago. I was like, but. And them times there, I'm trying to phone my girlfriend's house.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want it picking up. Tomorrow morning, I tried to resist, and I had like all the cousins and my friends stay there. So 13, 14, it's another experience. I go get on there, I almost missed the flight because I remember walking into the airport and then going, I had a chaperone. My mum was like, he's 14, whatever, take care of him. And I remember walking through the airport into the departure lounge, and then I saw Nike. I was like, whoa. And then I remember just being in there, like, and then I sort of heard, flight to Chicago, this is the last call. So I'm like, I swear that's my flight. So I asked the lady, and she was like, yeah, you've got 5 minutes. So I run to the gate now. So I get on the plane, have an experience on the plane, and I get on, my uncle was just waiting for me like, hey, my friend, I've made it. Do you know what I mean? So I get to his house, and he lived in a place called Hanover Park, which is a suburb outside of Illinois.
Okay.
So it's about 45 minutes from Chicago, the town. So I go, X, Y, and Z. Just remember I played basketball, football, both at school. And I was part of both teams. And then so I remember I was just sitting there chilling, not really doing much for the first week because he was working. My older cousin, she was doing her stuff, so I'm just chilling. And then my mum called and said, "What's he doing?" He's just
there.
Yeah, he's just chilling out. He's cool. So I'm there. I ain't really speaking to anybody. And Mama goes, "But he plays basketball and football." My uncle looked at me and said, "What did you say?" Because his best friend at the time was a basketball coach.
Okay.
So this is like 7 o'clock. I'm like, get up, get up. I'm like, what are you doing? Get up. And I'm like, I'm still cocky, attitude.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm going to ask you again, get up. I was like, yeah, in a minute, man. Pow! That was my welcome. Like,
Yeah.
he didn't really
yeah.
play games.
Yeah.
So, cut a long story short, he had me up doing bits and pieces, but he taught me loads of different things. He taught me, you know, you're growing up to be a man. You got to wake up before 6 o'clock every day.
Whoa.
And there was a court not too far, about 10 minutes from his house. You know, you got to run and keep yourself active
and fit.
and do certain things. I go to work, he leaves about 7. You know, this is the fridge. Fix yourself a plate X, Y, Z. But when I come home, make sure there's food for me to eat. So I'm just like, well, I can barely boil rice, I can fry an egg. Do you know what I mean? So this time I'm coming home and he's vexed. He's like, there's no food. I'm like, I don't know how to do this. So he teaches me all of these things, how to cook and how to do this and X, Y, and Z. So while I was there, I was there from like beginning of summer all the way to like October.
Okay.
And I was like, I didn't want to go back, but at the same time I did because I'm
So
like,
was he like? So what was your relationship like with your father?
oh no, he was cool.
Okay.
He was cool, but you know, because you know, a young man in a situation. My parents are first generation, so they're not acclimated to the social society of how this works growing up.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? So there's a bit of a gap there. Do you know what I mean? Certain things we would experience, you can't necessarily relate it to your parents because they don't necessarily know how to deal with it. Because they come from a different sort of culture in Africa or wherever, Ghana, Nigeria, Jamaica, wherever. So there's always a gap there. So it was fine. So, you know, I got back in X, Y, and Z and, you know, started playing basketball, but music was always in the background because I'm seeing Skib is a star now.
Yeah.
And then my brother started to progress because he took the other route. He started to go down the route of being involved in the business.
Oh, right.
Started to, you know, wanted to sign people. He wanted to become an A&R and all these things. And then people in my school are starting to become musical. Do you know what I mean? Like by, you know, doing things, putting out, you know, mixtapes and all these things. You know, by the time we leave college and X, Y, and Z, people are like, you know, I think we had like Taz, and then we had Taz, and then, do you know what I mean? All doing all of these things, and all of these other artists coming up, and it was hard to ignore. And then my own sort of childhood friends, they were doing more like, you know, they were moving towards like, you know, funky house or X, Y, and
but
Z.
everyone was kind of in that music field.
Where I lived, you couldn't
in
avoid
some-
it. You
Okay.
couldn't avoid it. There was a DJ here. And then I remember sort of playing basketball, and then I moved to like Newcastle for a season to play like almost semi-professional / professional. And I got homesick, but a lot of my friends would come up, and it was like, I think it was like year 2000, 2001. So my brother was starting to get his feet, and he had just signed like I think So Solid Crew.
Okay.
So I remember coming back, and then like there's a premiere for the video.
Yeah.
I'm like, for a video? Is this gonna be a movie? You know what I mean? And then I remember just seeing all of it.
Yeah.
Like, and then, you know, I had other family members that had other songs on stuff, and you know, another cousin over here, he was doing stuff, you know, more sort of grime stuff, and my girlfriend at the time, she lived in East London.
Okay.
So I saw, you know, people like Wiley early, but I didn't know who they were. But they were watching, so I remember seeing them in a like this little room. It was apparently a pirate radio station, but like they were watching like So Solid Crew, like they're like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
do you know what I mean? And then not to know till further down the line, I realized, oh,
These
these
putting
are
the
these
dots
guys.
together.
You know what I mean?
All right. So growing up in like the area that you grew up in, was it been easy for you to go the other way? Like, so your mum's saying, I don't want you to be like those boys at the corner. Was there a point in your upbringing that you could have gone that way?
Oh yeah. The opportunity was always there.
Okay.
It was, if you wanted to go down that road. But what kept me and some of my friends is just the examples. You know, I saw Skibber buy a brand new car. I'm like, that's too much. Like, so there was no difference between, the quote unquote drug dealers and him and some of his peers, and they were the same. So
In the sense of what they could do.
yeah, you just don't go to jail over here.
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So it just to me it made sense.
Made better sense.
It just made sense. Do you know what I mean? Like, he certain times he would come around and, buy us McDonald's. You know what I mean? Or do he would do certain things that, okay. So we were seeing. You can't tell me that I can't be this.
Yeah.
Because this guy is right here. He's right here.
That's
He
a
was one of-
testimony already.
Yeah, he's one of the biggest examples. And I remember him sort of, winning the best MC from like Radio 1 Extra and all these things. And I'm like, no. And then I'm seeing my brother, like, cornerstone a lot of the sort of black early, well, not to say early, but sort of black music, you know what I mean? Or cool black music, like pioneer different sounds like garage and, grime. And then they're doing chart topping things. And I'm like, so sometimes the view that I have of situations is the examples I've just, they outweigh all of the
and not even
criminal
just
activity.
examples, but the positive examples.
There you go.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And, these guys are not far from me, not year 2, 3 years away from me. And I'm like, how could you not want to do this?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And I'm seeing other guys, do you know what I mean? Like, come and sort of get signed. And, my brother will be working on, this with this guy. And I saw the process of them making a record and it coming out. And then it doing well.
Yeah.
So
you're seeing every
the whole
step.
process.
Yeah.
The whole process.
So this is actually plausible, it's feasible, and I can actually, if I want to do it, I can. Like, why couldn't I?
I remember going to a studio for another cousin of mine, and there was this guy in there who was singing, and I was like, he's really good. But then, I fell asleep because I wasn't used to listening to the same thing over and over again.
Okay.
I was like, this is boring. I want to go home. And I was like, this is rubbish. So I fell asleep, and then he was still going. I was like, these people are mad. But then I remember there was this guy that came in, this sort of professional looking guy, and he was like, we're gonna do X, Y, and Z. And then I remember them, quote unquote, getting a record, saying it was signed. And then I remember hearing it on the radio, and I'm like,
It's the same.
it's the same guy. And then I see it take off.
Yeah.
And then he's performing it everywhere. And so how could you not? I'm like,
so is that do you think that's what's missing in a lot of these young youths of this day and age?
yeah.
There's
100%.
so many little bits and pieces you can slap out of it though, because like there's so many. There's one guy that said, you know what, I saw these youths and I approached them and I went, you know what, come get experience in Pinewood Studio. You get what I'm
Look at
saying?
that.
Like,
Do you know what I mean?
Obviously you thought,
Yeah. And then, and the same thing, I'm like, hold on a second. These are the guys that we were, I remember I had to choose. My mum made me choose. There was a video shoot for a group called Truce at the time, called Celebration of Life. That's the name of the song.
Yeah.
And then we had a cameo in the video, but we had to go to rehearsals.
Yeah.
And it was on a Saturday, and I had to do something with school. Like, it was like a run for charity. And I remember I had to do it, and it was like in the morning till 2:00, and then 3:00 was when the rehearsal started. But this time I'm on a coach somewhere,
cray.
so I couldn't convince my mum. School comes first. So I remember getting off the coach and going all the way. I had missed like 2 hours, but I still got to rehearse and X, Y, and Z. And then I remember on the video shoot, going to the video shoot of that song.
Yeah.
And me and my friends had like a cameo where we did this little dance and a flip and stuff like that. And then we just got it all wrong. It was terrible.
Yeah.
But they kept a few bits. But I remember seeing those guys, Truce, and then I think Damage was in the video.
They've done a tune together, and
And then they were a popular group.
of course, at that time,
They were. So it was just too much examples. It was too much muscle memory and examples. I remember there was another group. I can't remember their name. think it was Mystique, yeah.
Mystique, okay,
But
yeah.
they were quite young.
Yeah.
And then I think they were just forming. But what people don't see is the process. It's years behind.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Before you
Because
see
Bare
it.
time you just sat there with 21 with So Solid, it took them time just to
Took
get
them,
there.
yeah. So they were doing pirate radio. So
Yeah,
at
well.
school, pirate radio was it because we
Yeah.
knew about pirate radio because of the drum and bass and jungle scene, and pirate radio was how you got a buzz.
Yeah.
And they had their characters that were on pirate radio every week, and us hearing it, listening to it. It was going crazy. We would tune into certain, radio stations, the Light FM.
Yeah, come on now.
So
yeah.
another childhood friend of mine lived in the same estate. So when I go to see her, one of the DJs, he lived on the flat above her. So she took me up there one time, and he had like a computer with some speakers, and he was like, "What's he doing?" She's like, "Relax, he's making a beat." I was like, "Oh, wow, okay. Where's the keyboard?" And she said, "It's there." So he had this little keyboard, and he was making this beat, and it was just going round and round and round. I was like, I want to leave. I'm like, just making it. I'm like,
So your level of patience is
because I wasn't used to. I mean, I understood it because I didn't make a decision at the time to say, yeah, I want to do this.
I want to follow this route.
I'm just like, this is just around me. Do you know what I mean? Bullying my life, and I didn't want to. I didn't want to be involved in it. But it just kept coming. So many things, so many examples of all of this stuff. And I remember seeing a group that got signed, and I thought that you had made it once.
Yeah.
But come to find out later on, it was just the beginning of a situation. And it's good for as a young person, we were exposed to all of these sorts of things. So getting to a certain age, and sort of like basketball really didn't work. So I remember going to my area, and me and my friends said, let's get a studio. So we got a studio not far from here, like in Borough. And, I was sort of like doing the business sort of side. I didn't understand I could play piano a little bit from school, but I didn't understand how to make music and X, Y, and Z. So, they were doing a lot of the recording and stuff. And then we got funding from this youth organization in SE1 called SE1 United at the time. They gave us like $5,000 to put on to do this sort of mixtape that featured all of the young kids from all of South London.
Okay.
So at the time, grime was huge. So we did this project where we shot a video in a local area, and we had all these young kids, do their verses and X, Y, and Z. So, seeing the process of that and X, Y, and Z. So eventually that sort of folded, and all of myself and some of my childhood friends, we all went our separate ways. So a lady came to me and said, "Look, you're good with these kids. Do you want to become a youth worker?"
Yeah.
I was like, "No." I'm like, "No." That don't sound like money to me. No. Do you know what I mean? So I do business. You know what I mean? But I ended up coming, and she was like, she's got some funding to get some studio equipment.
Okay.
Could I help her? And I'm like, well, I've seen it been done. And, where the distance between some of my childhood friends, I couldn't really call up and say,
All right.
this is a situation. So
Yeah.
I had to sort of kind of, I've seen him do this. I've seen him do that. And I've seen him do that. And then some of the young people would sort of help me.
Fill in some of the gaps.
Yeah. And then we set up a studio.
Okay.
I was like, cool, studio set up. She was like, yeah, you're going to work here 3-4 times a week, doing 20 hours a week. And I was like, great. Who's going to run the studio?
Yeah.
She's like,
You.
you don't know how to run it. I'm like, no. And then, so
You had to learn.
I had to learn.
Or on the job.
But I've seen it being done.
Yeah.
I've seen certain things being done. And
Repetitive thing, hearing the beat over and over.
and this time I was cool with it because we had our own little studio. And in the studio, there were like all of these artists. There was some, I saw this guy the other day. It's a big Nigerian producer. And he started in that studio.
Okay.
I think he was working with Big Brothers at the time.
All right.
Yeah, so, and then there were so many other characters that came out of it who are doing well now.
Yeah.
So from that experience, I took it to the sort of youth center, but there was young people involved. So every three times a week, I'd have to see young people. They'll come
So
in for
is
like
it
youth
basically
club.
to help them to make music or just?
Well, it was just an activity for them to do in the
Okay.
youth club.
All right.
Do you know what I mean? So we'll do activities, normal youth activities like, you know, pool, table tennis, X, Y, and Z. But then there was a studio
As well as.
as well as,
okay.
yeah. And in the area, I think it was one of the only studios. So 3 times a week, 6 till 9, I think Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, it would just be packed with kids. And that was a studio, so kids were cool. I
Yeah.
can be like the person I see on
Yeah,
TV.
TV.
Do you know what I mean? And lucky enough, you know, I had a few connections. I was able to get a few artists to come down
Okay.
and, you know, support the sessions. And then it just got really popular.
Yeah.
And then, you know, I it was about a year or 2 years straight, just, you know, packed with kids. And then Grime, and then there was a radio station called On Top. And it was On Top and then Real FM at the time. And then they were sort of like, a lot of the young people that we had, we sort of formed this little collective. And then they started playing on Top and doing like tunes with different sorts of people in the grime scene. I remember it was around the time, I can't remember. I think my brother had signed somebody and I asked him, could you get him down? And I think he came down. I can't remember who it was. And he came down. So a lot of people always look to me like, you've got family in the industry.
You got the links.
Oh, I wish they knew. I wish they knew. I didn't mean anything. From where I come from, it don't mean anything. Just because someone does something, it doesn't mean they have to do anything for you. I understood that.
Yeah.
Other people didn't. And I always had to fight this battle of, okay, you know, you're related to this person, or your brother's this, or you know this person, and they're
So
here.
surely then you must yeah.
If I stay with you, I'm gonna go there too. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, it doesn't work that way. You didn't have, you know, as we all came to find out.
By association, they think.
Do you get what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
So at that time, do you know what I mean? That sort of disbanded, and I was like, okay, I've done all of this. I'm gonna go on my own.
So is that where Music Club was born?
That's where Music Club was born. It was
Okay.
like, okay, cool. I'm gonna do this on my own, because I remember a teacher coming into the session from a local school, and she said, "Could you do this in our school?" I was like, I think so. She was like, okay.
I like how he does it. Like nowadays, it's like we do. Yes, we can, but before it's like.
Yeah, because she's asking me, and I'm like,
figure it out.
what are you talking about? Do
Yeah.
what? Write lyrics? I don't write lyrics. They can.
Yeah,
But to bring them, I didn't understand the concept. And she was like, can you bring this music
What
hub
you have here into
to school? I'm like, yeah, I guess you could do it with a laptop. She goes, okay, cool. How much you charge? I was like, you charge money for that? Just remember, I do business, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I'm like, wow. I was going to ask her how much, but I was like, no.
Oh, let me.
So I was like, how much would you pay for something like this?
Yeah.
It's got to be more than £100. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, you know, the business and the education side of me, I went home, I was like, okay, if I can do 10 of these in a month and charge them like 200 quid,
Yeah.
oh, that's almost like 28 grand a year. I remember my dad saying to me, all of this stuff that you're doing, what does it mean? I hear you talk about, you know, you're going to blow.
Yeah.
What does that mean? And I was like, I don't know. And he said to me, listen, how are you, the being famous part, you know, he doesn't understand. What's being famous? So I didn't answer him straight away, because my dad, you know, my dad was a bit of a drinker. So every time he drank, he would start
Okay.
unloading. But a lot of it, when you're listening to it,
What's sense?
quite prevalent. It's quite relevant. So he said to me, explain this to me, like, you know, you're not doing basketball no more. You're not doing all these things, but you like this, because I lived with him, you know, for a period of time. And he was like, explain to me how you're going to do this. So I was like, because he said the key is not necessarily becoming famous. If you can wake up and do what you need to do, and
Then you're already successful.
then wouldn't you say that's successful? So I was like, I said to him, okay, how much does a teacher make? And he said, 25K, 26K, 24K, whatever.
How
So
far back is this going?
This is at the time. This is probably about 21 at this
Okay.
time. So he said to me, how much does a teacher make? And I said 24, 25K. No, I asked him,
Yeah.
how much does a teacher make? And he said, and then he said 24, 25K. And then I said to him, if I can make 24, 25K doing what I'm doing, wouldn't you say I've made it? He sat back in his chair and he said, all right, if you think like that, go ahead and do what you're doing. Just don't listen to your mum, innit? Just, because my mum was very rigid, education, X, Y, and Z. He was like, go and do what you're doing. You know, ignore everybody else and figure it out.
Yeah.
Because you have something tangible here, isn't it? This is the root. So I was like, and that was just around the same time the lady said, you know, how much will you charge for this?
Okay.
So I'm like, so if I can make, so no, 200 quid and I do 10 sessions
Per
a
session,
month.
yeah.
I was like, yo, that's like 24, 26K. I've made it. Do you know what I mean? But you know, he's like, yeah, you've made it, but the key is in sustaining what you're doing.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And he said that someone with your personality and the way you think, you know, and your habits, because I have some habits that I read a lot.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? And
Good habits.
yeah, good habits. I've got a lot of good habits. I read a lot of, you know, these things are just normal. Do you know what I mean? To me, because you know I've been doing it over time. You know, I watch a lot of things, and I'm very knowledge based.
Okay.
So he said, someone with your personality type, you have to be the quote unquote dealer in every situation. And so I was like, okay, another riddle. What's this guy doing? And he was like, you have to position yourself in a position where you can almost contribute to your future.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
Unfortunately for you, you know, you don't have a conventional mind to go and sit in a chair and work a 9 to 5.
A normal, yeah.
I think you'll be failing yourself if you do that.
If you did that, yeah.
That's what he's saying to me. So maybe you should figure out a way, you know, that when you do your music and you're doing your teaching kids, if you get a big piece of money, you're gonna have to buy your year.
Okay.
You're gonna have to say, you know what? You made £6,000. Pay it on your little studio. Pay it on the bills. Pay everything.
Pay it forward. Yeah.
Pay everything. You know, you'd rather have 200 quid to last you that time rather than owe any money. That way you can stay in your creative medium. You can just be bouncing your head.
Rather
You know, you
than
people who
doing it
bounce your
because
head.
you're stressed because you know that invoice and whatever needs to get paid.
But you've already paid it.
Yeah.
So while you're you know you're coming home 2, 3 in the morning or you know 5, 6 in the morning, nodding your head like a madman.
Yeah.
You know, you're creative.
Yeah.
So you can actually give yourself a chance and be successful.
So that was good advice.
It was great advice. I mean, he used to give me, and I spent a lot of time with him. And in the time period, he showed me so many different things based on what he knew. Like I remember one time my friend was in some trouble outside of his house, and so I came to my friend's rescue, and it was like a big man he was arguing with, and the guy pushed me, so I hit him. My dad was smoking his cigarette, looking over the spout, and he just ashed his cigarette and just went back in the house. I'm like, what you doing? This is a big man.
You're not gonna come and
You
help
gotta
me
help
now.
me. So me and my friend sort of kind of wrestled the guy to the floor, and so I went in and I said, Dad, and he said, "Oh, okay. What did you want me to do? If you had lost the fight, that would have been your judgment, right?"
Yeah.
So I'm like, this is harsh for a person to know, but
But good
he's like,
life lesson.
great life lesson. He said that, look, no one told you to jump in.
Yeah.
So had you
Deal
had
with
lost
the
the fight, it
consequences. Yeah.
would have been your judgment.
Yeah.
What are you looking at me for? I'm busy doing what I'm saying. So he always used to say that if you're gonna bother someone, you have
No,
to
that
think
it can
about
go
what's going on.
either. Yeah.
So don't bother no one. So all of the battles you have to assess for yourself. Can I do this? Yes, I can. Okay. But I don't do it half-heartedly. Because
You have to
if
go
you
all-
lose, you lose, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Get
At
up
least
and
you know
go.
you gave it all.
You know them ways there.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And these are the things that we transfer to young people. So, you know, as we started doing Music Club in X, Y, and Z, you know, the youth centre thing crashed. The lady got a bit weird. So, you know, I had some money and I sort of took it to Deptford. I think that's where I met you.
Yeah.
And then,
yeah, that's what, with
Yeah.
Nicholas, that's it now. Yeah.
yeah, Deptford, Nicholas. Yeah. So, and then we started doing it there. And then, you know, I would like, okay, how am I going to sit here? Because my, you know, fast forward, my girlfriend at the time became pregnant. I remember we went to Ghana and, you know, we came back from Ghana and I remember sitting in the hospital. I was sitting in a friend's house and she said, my stomach. And I said, what do you mean your stomach? What do you mean? And so we went to the hospital. I remember the doctor walking towards us and my mum calling me at the same time, like, okay, I want to just get it over and done with, isn't it? So I just said to mum, look, you might have your first grandchild. She said, oh, Jesus Christ. Oh. So I learned to do things early. I'm not trying to pull the wool over people's head, innit? I just, just get it out there, innit? What can you say to me? You can't beat me anymore. You know what I'm trying to say? Do you know what I mean?
We Chad.
Hey, you know what I mean? So, I mean, at that time, so I was like, how am I going to be able to sit here, get good at making music and do this music club? How am I going to do that? It was another like life conundrum. I remember speaking to Skibber and he said, don't look at nobody. I ain't going to help you. You can't look at, your brother and all these people.
Yeah.
We've got our own lives. We don't care. And it was a bit hard at the time, but he was telling the truth. We don't care. My own life. I'm going to Australia.
I got my own stuff to...
I got my own kids and stuff like that. And you're old enough, so you got to figure it out. So I was like, okay, if I do this creative stuff, it will pay for me to sit here. Do you know what I mean? And learn literally everything. Do you know what I mean? And teach myself this and teach myself that and X, Y, and Z. And so I remember that time, I was at my mum's house. It wasn't working out with my partner at the time. So, it was just, everything was just money. So I was like, I'm just going to sit here and figure it out. And then I was like, how do we get like schools and, people to stay interested? But I called them, it wasn't working. So I just had to go to the schools. I remember I went to a school called London Nautical, just not too far from here. And I went to Jeffrey Chaucer. So I went to all the schools I knew. Like, can I speak to the principal, please? You know what I mean? And they'll turn me away. I remember how I got into London Nautical is that I went there. I tried to say, I need to speak. I got an appointment with the principal. And then the guy was like, my friend, you don't have an appointment. Can you just leave?
You're trying it.
So they just walked me out. I remember a parent coming in. And I said, sorry, miss, I'm doing this really music project with the kids, but this guy won't let me in. Can I just walk with you? So he left. I think he went on lunch or something like that. So I walked in with his teacher. And the reception was like, the woman was like, she was like, and the lady was like, I've got an appointment. And the principal came out.
Okay.
I said, hello, miss. I just walked into the room with her. I said, look, I just need 5 minutes. Look, this is what we do. Da-da-da-da-da. We've
Wow,
been
you're
successful.
that determined.
It's either that or Do you know what I mean?
Worked.
What else was it? You know what I mean? So I remember he gave us a chance.
Okay. Well, like half price.
It was for no money.
Oh, okay. Okay. Okay.
It was for no money. And then I came in there and I was talking to the kids and I was making some music and stuff. And there was a girl in there that was into drum and bass.
Okay.
And I grew up around it so I could make it. And she was like, she's got a project in Canterbury. Would I come? I said, yeah, are you going to drive there? And she was like, yeah, cool. Take your equipment, drive there. So we drove there and did this workshop that we got paid for. Yeah. And there was a lady in there, I can't remember her name. She was from a school in Ashford. So
That's the link,
you see the. So she's from a school in Ashford. So she was like, "You're really great with the kids. Could you come to my school?" I was like, "Yes, I come to your school." So
the difference is before it's like I don't know.
Yeah.
Now it's the go. Now it's the drive now, isn't it?
Yeah, there you go.
Well, you know what? When it's your calling, it will keep calling.
It will keep calling. It will keep coming. And she was like, "Cool." So I went to a school in Ashford, and she had all these kids.
Ashford ain't round the corner.
Ashford ain't round the corner. I didn't know
Kent.
this. I did not know this. I got on the train. I was like, and the guy was like, £20 for a fare. So I was like, how am I going to do this? So I remember paying it and thinking, oh Lord, this has dented me. But so, and she was like, could you come every week, every Friday? And I was like, of course I can. So going every Friday, and there was these children, and they were like, some of them were from like Zimbabwe, some of them from London, and I'm like, they had all these stories, and over time I kept going there. I remember going to a youth club not too far from where I live now in Gillingham. You know what I mean? Through the Ashford connection. So I'm like, I'm doing all this stuff in Kent.
You didn't even realise because you're trying to do conquer South London, thinking that's.
I'm thinking this is
Well,
far.
yeah.
Yeah, now you're.
Do you know what I mean? And then, I had a great relationship with these guys in Ashford, do you know, who've grown up to do amazing things. Do you know what I mean? And it kind of helped me believe that this is worth it. So, fast forward, I remember at the time I was going to Ashford, that's when I met yourself. Do you know what I mean? And, people were doing different things and stuff like that. I mean, very rarely did I actually work in London for about 3 years.
Okay.
Everything was all Kent.
Based.
Everything was all Kent.
Yeah.
I'm like, I remember doing stuff in Maidstone, at a place called Youth Zone and stuff like that, which is almost like 10, 15 minutes from where I live now. It's like, I remember being in where I live right now, it's like I was building a relationship with the people who I work with now in my own area. It was just crazy.
So do you ever see because you're working with the young people, do you ever see the after result of, because you only work with them for a certain period of time and then you might go to another school, they might leave school. Is there ever a time where you actually see obviously there's never going to be an end result because life goes on, but it's in to say what strength does your piece make in the work and the position that you do?
So, I mean, I remember in that period of time, there was a school in Carshalton that I went to. And I was only there for like a month, maybe did 6 sessions.
Okay.
There was this group of guys who asked to do work experience with me. And I was like, well, okay, you come to the studio and we could figure out what to do. So there's 4 guys. 2 of those guys was like the first sort of taste of the work that I've done contribute to their because one of them is a presenter on Kiss FM now.
Okay.
And I was like, and one of them is he works at a record label. And I was like, wow. I noticed that I did that, but I had a hand in shaping their mentality. And then obviously still producing music. There was a lot of people that produce music that we've been making music with who have all done stuff with me to maintain their sanity while making music.
Okay.
So the good thing about the building the music club was, as a producer first, I was able to link up with other producers who I knew from my extended network and work on their projects and doing this and doing that. And, a handful of those producers are huge now.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? And have contributed to a lot of the music today. And we still have those working relationships, you know what I mean? Because bring it back to the time where, we had to share chicken and chips and stuff like that. And, to do...
That's the
humble
beautiful,
beginnings.
because obviously I've worked with Richie on the music club and it's like, the people that he's brought in are all big producers, something like, you get what I'm saying? Sometimes we go to a session, we don't even know each other, but we know what job we have to do with the young people. But it's like, wow, you do what, blood? You do what? And you get me? So it's like, I remember the woman that was a busker. She finished the session and she's going on the tube station to go and do busking. But that's what she enjoyed doing. She's like, I just want to be busking, and she was good.
Okay.
And she had a set. That's why I knew that. And tube station have a set time for busking. You can't just go on busking.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
You have a set.
Well, they
specific
allow
time.
you in a certain. Oh,
I didn't even
okay.
know that. I was like, "Bro, is that what you're doing?" She's like, "Yeah." And then there's just this bare top in it. The model that you've built from, because it's good to hear it from the start. Because people take it for granted. To get there.
Yeah.
The pushing and turning, the twisting, Chicago come back. You get me? And
I guess it's a level of sacrifice, isn't it?
It's massive. It's massive. And then you know what I mean. Then you've had the talks. It's just that obviously now we're because we are now we've been in the hard knock schools and all that kind of thing, which the problem that they have with music's now evolved to the said we've had to go into certain meetings. And I want to touch on the whole thing of, obviously you've had the business has evolved since then, where we've had to even go deeper in terms of the mindsets of the young people. We can't just go and do normal things now. You have to go in now more so.
Well, there's times where you've brought some of the where I've listened to some of the music, and it's been both ways. Some of it has been quite emotional and heartfelt, where they've written music to their mum or something. And there's others where they're talking about the road life and what have you. But then how, like, if they're talking about what is their own experience, how do you inspire them to kind of come away from that?
I'll touch on it, and then Richie. My thing is that we have to let them get it out. Sometimes we have to let them expose whatever they're going through, and then know that that ain't the only thing you can talk about. So, but it's all about getting in their mindsets. We have to understand them first. So most of the time we go on, we'll call let me hear what you got. I'm like, oh my days, this is so dead. And then literally, it's about now actually saying to them, breaking it down in terms of what they are going through and what they're listening to and what frequency they're on. Because now Richie brought me into the whole frequency thing. I'm like, it's mind blowing. Do you get what I'm saying? Because now that's the influence now of what's going on.
Touch upon like the frequency of
Yeah,
music.
because that's the
So it's just I mean, the process that everyone goes through when making music is all frequency based, isn't it? So like when we're mixing a record or a song, like we have this table, this almost like a periodic table that measures the sound. Do you know what I mean? And each frequency generates a certain type of emotion. You know, certain types of music, you know, if you listen to like bass music, you know, it's very like,
Yeah.
do you know what I mean? It has a harder frequency. If you listen to like classical, it's very, you know, and the type of music you listen to will have an effect on your emotion. On your mood. So we're now using it to dictate, okay, cool, where is this young person? You know, just by the music they like listening to. You know, recently we did a presentation at Southwark Council, and then it was all adults. Yeah. And it was interesting to see who listened to what.
Okay, and then breaking down what the frequency does. Okay.
And they're the same people that are working. I think we pull up before then. I think when we went to the police. In the casino when they I don't know, I can't remember what we were doing there, but we were doing a presentation.
But
there.
that was the birthing
and that was the birth of that, testing out where the frequency. So these are going to be dealing with young people, pulling them up, whatever it is, and that the frequency they're listening to
it wasn't necessarily nice.
It's like, oh my days.
Yeah, because they're listening to like, some of them were listening to like grunge, hard rock, and it was amazing how they didn't understand how the music that they were listening to was correlating to the way they behaved.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
So if
Where
you're
they're
listening
more
to
like
some dark
aggy and
stuff,
aggressive, and
how are you meant to give someone a chance?
Yeah, if you're already in that mind frame.
Do you know what I mean? And sometimes we don't look at those things. Sometimes the music we're listening to, it's just music, isn't it? But it's having a major impact on your
emotional and mental state. Definitely. But then, all right, to then say to a young person, you know, the kind of music you're listening to is adding to, I guess, your character and your behaviour. But if they know or see no different, they're only going to write about what. So you were exposed to quite a lot, you know, other countries, other cultures. Your mum was just making sure that you were just positively active, doing stuff. If I know a lot of young people, especially in South London, haven't left, you know what I mean, London, more or less, you know, the country itself. They only know the area that they live in. You know, there's not many, you know, youth groups or after school clubs, you know, things to that nature. And also then the positive examples, a lot of them don't necessarily have that. So then how then do you switch? My question is, like, how do you switch their mind to kind of start exploring outside of what they're literally just being confined to?
Yeah, so it's like, you know, like, as well as examples. Yes, you can see someone, but that's not their environment. Do you know what I mean? So we look at different sorts of aspirational things. We look at trying to bring them to different environments. Okay. Like we were talking earlier about a studio experience for some of these young people. Once they get into that environment, it might trigger something. You know, it might trigger something that actually I'm a little bit more than what my environment says I am. Yeah. That's going to be an ongoing battle, but we can only contribute to those things. We don't expect to turn anyone immediately. We can only try and place these young kids in these environments.
Plant the seed.
And also, it's like what they're realizing now and where we are now is that with our interactions with young people and, you know, and students in X, Y, and Z, the professional services are finding that, hold on a second, with what you do, it's really invaluable because we can pull information from a child faster than some of these mental health services can.
Yeah.
Faster than some of these social services can. So, you know, they're starting to realize that actually we need to kind of keep you in the fold, because just based on your rapport, based on an interest,
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be, I want to be a pop star. You could just be creative.
Yeah.
Based on an interest, you know, it's so deep and so, you know, so emotive that the young person or students will start pouring.
Yeah.
Because, you know, music, you know, reflects life, isn't it? So a lot of these kids now, they've seen so many examples from the internet about people who have sustained themselves by talking about what their experiences are, good or bad.
Yeah.
So that's the blueprint. So these young people, they'll start, you know, eventually start recording music. You know, it could be just for them to just let go of. They could be doing poetry. They could be, you know, whatever. And then they might say something that is personal. And then it's kind of up to us to decipher whether or not we can touch on that in a real delicate fashion. Like we might say, okay, you spoke about X, Y, and Z. And we might just give them a point. How did you feel when that was going on? Because I went through something similar.
Yeah.
That way we're pulling the pressure off them to speak. And then if they don't want to speak, they don't have to speak.
Yeah.
But eventually they will speak.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And so it's going to provide us with so much information that all of these professional services, they now want, which is what they want.
Yeah.
So now I'm thinking, okay, this is great. Because we're at the point where, you know, we're now sort of approaching becoming more of a provision based.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we can now sit next to a quote unquote school and have them refer students to us, and then we can provide a mixture of creativity to infuse their learning, to help them maintain their attainment.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, we all have a duty of care for for our children and for kids to achieve stuff, so they have some options when they're older.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? So why don't we do it and mix some of the creativity with it?
Yeah.
It can only be a positive.
Of course.
When we're in the, I know, Richard, when we're in them sessions, and them young people are, switch it on, man, right, and they're drilling. Oh my diddy days, like, but some of them are real life living it. No, some of them are actually living it, like real life living it. And I don't think any of the ones we've had any incidents in terms of young people being sent to jail. I don't think we've had. I haven't had any.
Well, it's just that it's been arrested. A lot of arrests. I don't know about sent to jail. No, but a lot of like arrests.
Yeah,
and a lot of entanglements with the law and stuff like that. On a consistent basis, that's been happening, but no one actually sent to jail.
Okay. So do you feel like you're quite like big brother to some of these?
Yeah. Big brother, uncle.
It's uncle now, isn't it?
I was about to say, you've been called uncle quite a few times recently.
Hurts, man.
Hey.
You know how much it hurts? Yo, uncles, you look at the body, bro, you look older than me, blood. Like, you get me? But, bro, what this? We have the campaign Make It Stop. Music's been used as this. It's been the get out clause. Yeah. Music's been now used as mostly the get out clause. There's many man them that does drill is the problem. I think that's it. It's just drill is the problem. That's what's causing the crime to go up. Boom, 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 boom. What do you say to that, bro?
Well, if you look back from when we all sort of grew up from, like they said the same thing about garage at the time. They said the same thing about grime at the time. So they said the same thing about hip hop.
Let's say rap,
hip hop, and all of these subgenres. It's almost like, it feels like, a certain type of music is always to blame. But if you ask someone, what was your first interaction with violence? I remember I asked the teacher, he was like, when was the first time you saw a gun? He was like, how old was you? I was like, I must have been about 6 years old. I'm like, really? What was you watching? He was like, do you remember Rambo, Sylvester Stallone? And I was like, oh, really?
No, that's a question. No, that's a deep question.
Wow, that is very
when
true.
was the first time you were...
When was the first time you was exposed to violence?
Wow.
When's the first time you saw a gun? Do, 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 do.
When was the first time? When was the
Yeah,
first
it's
time?
TV. I couldn't say the first time, but it's TV.
TV.
100.
And growing up,
Yeah.
you saw all of these films.
How did they
Arnold
come?
Schwarzenegger.
Yeah,
You had all
yeah.
of these, you know. You had everybody. Action Man, you know.
No, 100. If it
Fighting and
weren't a
killing.
gun-
Batman was always hitting people. Comic books.
Yeah. Yeah, fighting.
So you're telling
Whether
me.
it's weapon or not weapon, it's still aggression and.
Yeah, so I just asked a polite question. So you're telling me we've got all this interaction of violence. And then this subgenre.
No, it's a subgenre.
Is the subgenre, are you telling me the subgenre is responsible for the majority of crime amongst young people? And he said, great question. I said, okay. So it's the first time I understood, okay, this is a story, it's a narrative. It's not based in fact, is it?
Yes. However, let me be devil's advocate. All right. So this teacher that you're speaking to, in regards to the first time he's not a violent man, or so we know. He's not like out on road, ready to go after someone because they're from another area code or what have you. You know, I could say, I don't know, Predator or. You know,
John Wick. This one, John Wick.
Yeah, but John Wick is an adult.
Oh my!
Just to
diddy
say what I
days.
might have
This
watched
one,
as a
John Wick.
child.
She don't like do violence, you know, but John Wick.
And I've got a thing for John Wick. I do. But no matter how young or whatever I was, and whatever movies, films, whatever I've watched, it didn't trigger me to feed into that. And I think that's probably why they are more trying to base it on certain genres of music like grime and so forth, because it's a lot of young black boys, and we see a lot of, I would say it's not only, but majority of young black boys that are caught up in this knife crime, especially.
Okay, I think you've just flown, jumped. You know what I mean? Yes, the influence of film, I understand your point there. But then you jump to a certain, you know, a race of thingy. So when people do that, I generally go all the way back and say, okay, cool. Let's look at the races. You know, let's look at the facts. Let's look at the empirical data. What does it say? How much of so-called black people are in this country? Barely 4 or 5%.
I'd say, yeah.
So you're telling me 4 or 5% is responsible for, and how many of those are young people? You're talking about 0.9% of that population are young people. Oh, well, about 1%, I'd say. And then you're looking at the percentage of people that live in so-called troubled areas. That's like 0.3%. Telling me these guys are responsible for knife crime amongst young people. Okay, let's break down the population. You know what I mean? There's a larger population that has way more young people. So if you look at the rates of violence, it does not make no sense. So why is this narrative so strong? That's where I get to.
What do you think the gender is? What do you think the gender that's been? Why is it being? Why is it being pushed in our faces more so? And obviously, I'm seeing the effects of certain I actually see it with my eyes. The music actually it is causing some kind of confusion, and I've seen parents close to me. Yeah.
Well, I'm about to say, definitely.
It's the energy that you think about it. The energy that this really small percentage of the demographic is creating this energy, and the energy is actually changing people's lives. It's generating a lot of, from watching teenagers do garage to grime and X, Y, and Z. We've all witnessed positive examples that have changed people's lives for the better. Do you know what I mean? So it tells me that the larger agenda is to try and control this thing, or X, Y, and Z. So we're talking about a really small subsector of people.
100%. However, there are many mothers. We don't need to count, but there are many parents that are mourning the loss of a child.
Yeah, there's loads of parents across the country. Do you know what I'm trying to say? Just that the crime in other areas is different. Do you know what I mean? And what I noticed from playing basketball and traveling, I'm like, I'm in Sheffield and Newcastle, and the crime is different. You got kids doing like antisocial behaviour, but there are a certain subsect of those kids who are carrying knives.
Yeah.
Because
Oh,
they-
we do. We do sometimes. Sometimes that news does slip in.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes, but obviously, living in London, we are going to hear more of what happens in our local,
Yeah.
area, and whether it is a small percentage compared to the whole, is still enough for it to be having an effect on our local community.
Yes, it has a major impact on our local community. But how many of those situations would you say are music related?
I don't necessarily think.
No,
they're-
they just try and attach it to it.
No, I'm asking you a question.
I don't necessarily think it's music related. However, I feel like the ones that are involved in that lifestyle generally listen to the same type of music, which I feel encourages a certain behavior.
Okay, so I'm 15 years old, and my home is a bit, lopsided.
Unstable.
So I'm looking, as a young male will do, is look for masculinity elsewhere. So then I join a gang. I don't have the psychological makeup of quote unquote love that feeds the soul for me to be productive. I'm looking exterior for someone to help me or to love me. So I go out and I've got these group of guys who say they're gonna be there for me. They're my bros. They're doing this. This one, gonna go out and do a drill. Or we're gonna go out and harm someone. That process, where does music come into?
Well, you're sitting in one of their bedrooms,
At
maybe.
the end of the process.
You think?
Not the cause of the process.
True.
Do you get what I'm saying? So
No,
how could you come
true.
and tell me that these kids are responsible? These are the words.
Yeah, that are being flung out.
responsible.
Yeah.
Psychological. A lot of children who experience the lack of love in their homes are going to seek it elsewhere. That's another problem.
Of
Not
course.
a musical problem.
No, of course.
Do you know what I
And you touched on a very strong point there, because if, no matter what a child is listening to, if their home influence is good and strong, it should outweigh anything that...
It's the main problem. Do you know what I mean? And we see it every single time when we're dealing with different types of young people who don't have a firm structure at home. Someone's gone in, dad's not involved or mum's not involved, and there's always this psychological brokenness or this psychological gap that we tend to access.
I feel. I think that,
You know what I'm trying to say?
as you said that, it goes back to the time. I'm not gonna call out any names, but when when the young person said, "You fed me more than my dad does."
Do you see what I'm trying to say?
That's always
And
stayed
this is
in
me.
me.
This
like,
is just me. Just. Oh, you hungry? Come, just buy.
wouldn't even like
a
the
Nando's
a
or
normal
whatever.
gesture
Yeah.
was something
Yeah.
major.
That's the second time we fed them, innit? And he's like,
So,
you fed me more than
you've
my
done
dad.
this
And I
more
thought-
than this. You've done, and you're like,
I never took that as a joke ever.
never,
Yeah.
never. But you see what I'm trying to say? That's the makeup that you're tend to fulfilling. Music is just the outlet. It's not the cause. Cause the act of harming someone.
Yeah.
It means various people have their different thingies, but from what I've learned, it means that if it's almost like someone, saying hate, like a hate word to you, or being prejudiced. You know what I'm trying to say, or being quote unquote racist. I'm gonna mark his grade down because it starts. My missus works in a school, and she often says that sometimes certain groups of kids are treated unfairly. You know what I mean? Where does that come from? You know what I mean? We've got used to dealing with a narrative at the front door. But it's where does it come from?
Yeah, that is
the
you know
root,
what I mean?
the
Right
root
there.
cause.
Where does it come from?
Yeah.
And like they say, it starts with you. If you can walk on the road and scream a hate crime, a hate word to somebody, what do you feel about yourself?
Yeah. It's like projecting, isn't it?
There you go.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm trying to say? So music provides a fast-paced access to the main problem. Do you know what I mean? The main problem is, okay, where in your childhood, none of us are perfect. We've all got things in our childhood that we can access. Do you know what I'm trying to say? Music is I would say, the drug that sort of kind of suppresses it. Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
It's almost like, you know, suppressing the drug or suppressing the problem. Sorry. Do you know what I mean? To you know, to kind of get you to that point where music's not there no more. Do you know? Because if you're gonna harm someone, that's a firm decision.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, it's like if you want to be like a sexual orientation choice, these are firm decisions. Do you know what I mean?
Of all examples.
Yeah, but it's I mean, it's in our environment. We
Yeah.
see, you know, I'm not knocking no one for nothing, but these are all firm decisions. I want to be this.
Yeah.
But it starts with you.
You know the
Do you know what I mean?
You know the case that came out. This is what I'm saying about the firm decision. The case that where the brother, I can't remember the name. I'm sorry, apologies for this. If I'm being disrespectful. A young boy was stabbed in a bakery, and then the perpetrator was caught, went jail, young. He was very young, and then he came out at older age, and then he became a rapper. His name's 10. I know the rapper called 10. And then he started rapping about what he done. Like literally, and then he's gone back to jail now because of what he's been rapping about, and then BBC on the thing and blah, blah, blah.
So he came out on probation or something?
No, he came out of jail normal,
Oh,
and then
okay.
he's literally he's done his sentence, but he's gone back now because of the speaking about it. This is the
Was
next
that a
thing
crime?
that is to speak about.
Yeah, is that a crime?
He was literally talking. I don't know if it's a crime. Is that a crime?
I don't know if it's a crime, but he's
No, he got done for it though. He got done for it though.
You're implicating. You know what I mean? So based on the whatever it is,
They
they
have
can
to look into that
reopen
a bit
it,
more.
Yeah,
reopen
yeah.
the case based on the evidence that you're now offering.
Okay.
And this is another thing that has been in music culture, you know, since we were, you know, young, is that this propelled level of confidence, you know, things like spoken word and rap and those things, they give you an anchor to project.
Yeah.
Don't mess with me because I'm da-da-da-da-da-da.
Yeah.
You don't necessarily mean it,
But yeah.
but you know, as you know, the spoken word, it travels.
Yeah.
And then it gets to somebody, you know, who's going to want to understand what that is. What do you mean by who are
Like,
you?
yeah, who are you?
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's just why they do that. I don't understand why.
Do you get what I'm trying to say? So that's one of the main characters that causes a lot of the confusion, which can result in violence.
Yeah.
Do you know
Have
what
a
I'm trying to
ripple
say?
effect.
It has a ripple effect. It doesn't necessarily. It may not be the main reason, but it's also part of the.
Part of.
Yeah, it's just that sometimes, and you get some of these larger subsidiaries who take this narrative and then turn it into this. Yes, we have now something to blame. We can just blame it on this thing. Do you know what I mean?
But then music is very powerful, and it has made things seem or sound cool. And if you are already susceptible to a certain lifestyle and what have you, and you're also listening to a certain type of music, it's just feeding into it. It's feeding.
And that's across the board.
Of course,
That's
100%.
I'm thinking of all artists that you get me. Not calling any names, you get me. But there's a couple.
It started with like, remember watching like NWA, the film and stuff, and then because they was, you know, had a certain narrative, you know, the police wanted to ban their show.
Yeah.
It's the same thing that happened to like Soul Solid and stuff like that. They've
done it. They banned them.
And you know what I mean? So really and truly, it's almost like, because this thing generates
Money.
interest, energy, money, things like that, it's always been a lid on it. Do you know what I mean? But you know, we saw it with Soul Solid in the early 2000s. They made it all the way to, you know, commercial society.
Yeah.
From sort of street rap
Yeah.
to mainstream. And now it's normal.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? For different sort of types of rap or spoken word to, you know, be mainstream. So how could you tell these kids that they can't sustain a career from it?
Yeah.
I love that bit you went, because obviously we're going over time, but this bit is just mad because you said you had to make a decision about going into music, and obviously when you spoke to your pops, he was like, don't go to mummy. What about these young, because we get it all the time in the schools, and they're like, and I'm so happy that we can allow our children to just be anything they want to do. We're good with that. But there's parents that are like, they're still out there that don't believe that route especially in the drill scene. I still think you can make it in the drill scene. There's a way of doing it. There's smart ways of doing it. It's gone into gospel now as well and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, what do you say to them parents that got them children they're in their room now, writing down lyrics? They're on the Mama Guy's studio doing the yeah. What do you say to them parents that maybe thinking, oh my days, I think my son or daughter's gonna go down the
I mean, it's changed now, isn't it? Because like, you know, us as parents now are closer in generation, closer in mentality, you know, than our parents were. There was still this gap. Do you know what I mean? Because our parents were, you know, I guess were conditioned from where they came from to think a certain way in X, Y, and Z. But we've been exposed to everything, the possibility.
Yeah.
So the minute our sons or our daughters show any sort of interest, we just kind of get behind it.
Yeah. Because you can be successful.
Or we should be getting behind
all.
it. Because some people don't.
Yeah. Then again, there you go. Some parents are still like, because it's the fear of bringing energy to the child, because they can tend to focus on the negative energy. Because if my son becomes a big rapper, there's going to be a large portion of people that are going to want to test his words.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And sometimes the negative energy that comes with it is what parents are scared.
And also the lifestyle, like, are they going to be exposed to a certain, you know, the drugs? And
I mean, that's going to happen anyway.
So remember what you were listening to Danielle.
Oh,
what's the one that lost their nose?
Westbrook.
Thing? And I didn't realize she was in the music. She was in the music thing from long. Gary, she was all in there. George Michael, she was going parties with them.
Yeah.
Like, and they were exposed to that type of.
course.
She was young anyway, 13.
I mean,
had her first drugs and that. I think younger than that.
It doesn't matter where you are in life. You're going to be exposed to, you know, those things.
Bro,
at
it could
some
be in
point
a law
your
firm and they're in the toilets, you know.
At some point in your life, you're going to have to make those decisions.
Yeah.
But once again, it comes down to
Foundation.
your foundation. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't matter where you are
Yeah.
in life. You're going to get, you know, drugs. There's going to be alcohol. There's going to be all of it. Do you know what I mean? I guess we may be a little bit more comfortable because, you know, we understand that. Our parents didn't necessarily understand that. Because if you grow up in Ghana,
Yeah. It's a whole different
ball game.
Yeah.
And then you come here and you're like, why do they wear their clothes like that? Like it's a whole, so how am I meant to know what to do? My mum was, you know, she always says that she was scared as hell. She had sort of like 2 boys raising and she was just scared.
Yeah.
You know, anything that happened, she was just frightened because she didn't understand what was going on. My dad was a little bit chill because, you know,
You can tell he let him get beat up.
yeah. All sorts, you know what I mean? He was a bit chill because he understand, look, you know, I guess, you know, raising males, you know, there's certain rites of passages that you must
Yeah, you
fulfill.
can't mollycoddle. No, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And he will always tell me different things about, you know, about girlfriends and stuff like that and just give me just advice. Do you know what I mean? But speak to me in a way that was very direct and blunt. You know what I mean? That stayed with me to today.
Yeah.
So, you know, it was different with him and my uncle because they gave me a lot of, you know,
You had
guidance
several
and
people that spoke life into.
yeah. Do you know what I mean? So, I guess it was different for them, but for my mum, there's still a gap
Yeah.
of you know.
So we've got basically we're
So-
saying we've got more of an advantage over this side.
Yeah.
And we
I
can
would
do
say
much
so
more.
too.
Big time.
When and no matter what, you know, no matter what a young person's foundation, home life, upbringing has been up until that point, as soon as they're exposed to, you know, what you do with music club and, you know, all the other things you do, you just have to try. You're never going to be able to counteract everything that you know the home hasn't provided.
No.
But if you can kind of try and to just help just to streamline their focus and attention and aspirations, then you know.
Yeah, because I mean, there's only so much we can actually do
Yeah.
because we have our own lives, isn't
Yeah.
it? And in the time that they're with us, we can say X, Y, and Z, but just remember they're going back to their environment.
Yeah.
And you know, now we were sort of working with a lot of parents to just. Do you know what I mean? This
I think that's very important.
This is what's going on.
Yeah.
Maybe let's go easy a little.
Yeah. Yeah.
He just told us not to.
Yeah.
No,
Oh,
we've
yeah.
seen. This is what I'm saying. I want people to be aware that, and I'll give one example of a young person where music, he was very good at music, extremely good at music. What he spoke about, questionable, but he was good at it. It was light work for him. But we were like, just push the music. Like we were saying, because you're so good, push. But it wasn't really what he wanted to do. So with the music club, it doesn't just go. We got access to other resources, other things. This man now wants to do flooring, do woodwork. Like what?
Carpentry.
Like who would ever think? But it was only because he was exposed to different things. The opportunities are vast. Don't ever think that music is just a carrot. And then I realized that Music Hub has just been a vessel for young people to come in and then go into different directions. Where do you wanna? One thing I want 2 questions before we close. Like, where do you see Music Club, and also, what support would you want more in terms of the Music Club, if possible?
Where I see it going now is where it's going now, into like provision status, like in terms of like. But I also see.
And he's sorry, I had to say, he said it, you know, he called it years ago. He's like, I want a provision, you know. I want a proof.
Yeah, because I saw it from early. I'm like, this can be like McDonald's.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, you can have this pretty much as a cornerstone everywhere.
Well,
do you know what I mean?
I think you've mentioned McDonald's about 4 or 5 times, so you never know. McDonald's might be the next sponsorship. Yes,
So what the
McDonald's.
McDoo-doos, I call it.
Do you know what I mean? It can have that sort of leverage to spread. Do you know what I mean? In terms of support, it would be more like local authority support. Like now they're starting to, there's a few local authorities and now starting to see the seriousness, because the ability to generate information to help the processes of all of the professionals is what's most key. So that would be the main support.
Okay.
But that's where I see it going, like being like a mainstay provision in, you know, numerous boroughs. Do you know what I mean?
I see no reason why.
That'd be beautiful.
Yeah,
Hey,
can't.
so I gotta put him to the test, obviously, innit? Like, so basically,
Go on.
the world. Who's the prime minister now? What's his name? He ain't even active like that, is he?
Sunak?
No.
That's I don't know.
Keir Starmer.
Oh, Keir
There
Starmer.
we
Yeah.
go.
Keir
So
Starmer.
he's basically said, Richie, you need to come and talk to the nation
Yeah.
on what's going on with our young people and
Yeah,
boom, boom, boom. And he's invited you as Music Club to come, and the whole world now is watching you on BBC, ITV, whatever kind of thing. And you've got to talk to the camera now. And like, what would you say?
What about Music Club, you say?
No, he said, you've come as a representative as Music Club, you're the host. He's like, I need you to talk to the nation about what's going on with these young people.
About
What
what's
would you
going
say?
on with these
Yeah,
young-
yeah, yeah. So you're now, the camera's now on you. 3, 2, 1, and go.
I'll be like, with respect to young people, take care and listen, because the solution is in their answer. That's all I'd say.
Take care and listen, because the solution
is in their answer.
in their answer. So as in listen to themselves. Okay.
Like listen to, okay, so you have to listen to the young people, isn't it?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Regarding whatever, it's still vague, but it's the regarding of whatever problem
Yeah.
there is. It's listen to them.
Okay.
Do you
So
know?
as in you're speaking then to the adults.
Yeah,
You're speaking.
yeah,
to
that's what I'm
okay.
saying. Listen to the listen to the young, because people that have power in this world are all adults.
Yeah.
So listen to them.
Yeah.
Because you'll be able to decode the solution in what they say.
What they say.
Because what do young people mostly complain about? They're not hearing me. They don't want to.
Yeah.
They don't want to listen to me. Hey, Rich.
Yeah.
They don't want to listen to me.
Yeah, they don't care.
They don't care.
Yeah.
And
You know what I'm saying?
it's true, you know.
It's absolutely true.
You never show me not much.
So I'd say to them, the metaphor would be take care. Like take heed, innit?
Okay.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
That's the
yeah,
metaphor. Would be take
Okay.
care and listen to what the young people say, because the solution
Is
in
okay.
their response or answer.
Well, you know, you'd have to say it just like that, because that will fly over many of their heads.
Yeah, that's why you have to replay it. You know?
No, it's been.
But to those who have power
Yeah.
will understand.
No,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
100%.
yeah.
No, it's we have to do. That's deep. No, thank you for coming on
No, 100%.
the Peacemakers. You're meant to get like a peacemaker. I'm gonna pretend like I'm giving you a Peacemaker award for the great work you're giving. Like, give it to him. I passed it over already, Shan.
Oh, it's like,
Yeah. So this is your award for the great work you're doing and contribution to society and that. I will post that out to you soon. I will get that, because
put that on your mantelpiece with pride.
Of course,
it's
100%.
it's essential. But no, we want to thank you for the great work you're doing, and we want people to follow, like, subscribe to the music club and what it's doing, and any support that you can get involved. Even if you want to even work vacancies, come get involved. Schools, as local authorities, get in touch with us. Just remember, we've got our program, The Power, going into schools as well. And the music club is involved in that. So we've got all the grassroots organisations, from art to music to self-development to cooking to everything. We put it into one big massive I don't know, program, and then we call it The Power, and now we're all together, working together. So the pieces of the puzzle are now being put together. So we're doing it, and Richie's part of the music club is part of the pieces. So we want to just thank you for just getting involved and happening.
Wicked, man. Appreciate it, man. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, hold tight to Outset Studio. This is nice.
Definitely, we'll be back.
So is this where you're situated?
No, we're gonna have some talks with the bosses and see what's going on. We'll have some conversations and all that kind of thing. But thank you. Like, comment, subscribe. Tell them, Shan. Tell them.
Yeah, don't forget, like, comment, and subscribe. But more than anything, any comments down below, and share.
And you want to get involved.
Share with all them WhatsApp groups.
That's what I'm saying. Like, you want to share all the foolishness, but you don't want to. Don't get me. I'm gonna get mad. I'm gonna get mad.
Anyway.
All right, big up. We're done now.
It's all love. It's all love.
Wicked.